I'm sure you're kind of in this constant evolving state of this is what we're working on next, this is what we're working on next. What is it you're currently working on right now in your curriculum?
Right now in AP Human Geography, we're finishing up with our last measurement topic, and it deals with basically urban solutions. So we're getting to the end of the year. We're kind of a different animal in the fact that we're an AP class, so we actually have an end date where our other social science classes will continue on. And so that kind of makes it a little bit different. So like I was saying, in our social science curriculum, essentially we go social science 1, 2, 3, 4. And each year is broken up where we've taken all the basic social science classes, so your world history, U.S. history, world geography, psych, soc, and really what we've done is taken those core classes and divided them out over 4 years. And so each year they get a taste of the basic social science curriculum. So they'll do, a quarter of the U.S. history, a quarter of the geography, the quarter of the world history, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And next year they'll get another quarter, another quarter, another quarter. So by the time they're seniors, they've gone through the whole curriculum. Instead of just having one class of, let's say, U.S. history, we've divided that up over 4 years. And allows kids really to get more content, I think, earlier. Normally they wouldn't get a psych, social, U.S. history until they're juniors, seniors, and now we're giving it to them as freshmen. And we're just extending that over 4 years. So it's kind of a unique way. And we're trying to get kids excited about social science. And sometimes when you're stuck in a world geography class for a semester or a year, and a kid has no interest in that, sometimes it's hard to keep their interest. So if they're able to do a couple learning targets, let's say 4 or 5 learning targets, then move on to something else, it kind of keeps it fresh, evolving, hopefully exciting for them. And we found that kids thoroughly enjoy that aspect of the curriculum.
So from a management standpoint, you manage it as a social sciences 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Correct.
But from a transcript standpoint, do you have to make transitions the same? They got so much world geography and so on. How does that translate? So
what we do is, exactly, because they are getting that, we still are able to transcribe that the way, just because they're not taking all the chunk of the class at the same time. They're still getting everything as they move through. So it's not difficult to transcribe. It just, we may not be able to transcribe it like right away. So over time, they eventually get the whole curriculum. What we try and do is if we know kids are going to transition or something like that, we address those early core classes like a geography or world history right away, and have them work through those first, and then address the other courses as need be. So we're able to kind of, adjust the system as we need to for each individual kid, which is part of the customized learning aspect of things too. So it can be a bit tricky sometimes, but we've always found ways to make it work.
Yeah. So with students working through this, with everybody at a different pace and sometimes different place, where do you find ways to not just make it a linear track, that they actually get choice? Do you have many options on that yet? Or?
We do. What we really allow is within the curriculum themselves, as we start like social science 1, 2, or 3, or 4, what we do is they get a choice of what those areas they want to work on. So if they decide that they're really interested in psychology, that would be the first track that they would work on, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What we're really contemplating doing is just creating social science as a whole, and then put the whole curriculum out there, and then let them choose their tracks. And then, then of course we have to have certain guidelines to say you got to get to certain points and things like that. But still, that's something we're talking about as a department because we're always evolving. We never stop evolving and thinking about ways we can either improve it, tweak it to make it so it's more compatible for the students. And one of the things we've talked about is doing that, just creating a social science curriculum, putting all our measurement topics, all our learning targets out there, and let kids just choose. That way, if you're a student and you really like U.S. history, well, then you can do the whole trek of U.S. history, 1 through 4, right then and there. Obviously, you'd have to do the other treks too, but maybe that's something you're really passionate about, and so we would allow you to do that whole track. We haven't quite evolved to that point yet, but that's discussions we're having as we speak right now. That's something we're really looking at maybe incorporating over the next maybe year or two.
With social science in particular, sometimes there are things that are very easy to tie relevance to your everyday life. There are other things that are sometimes hard. How do you manage that? Do you find ways to make it relevant?
Yeah, our final affirmations, our step threes are very vague usually. And so what we'll oftentimes do is we're able to tweak and bring in things very easily that connect to the outside world. When students move through our curriculum, we have our foundational steps, our comprehension steps, and then our final affirmations. Well, they have to present a project to us. We create that, so it's really easy to go in and say, based on current news or based on current events, how is this? Boom, boom, boom. And so it's really easy for us to go in and tweak curriculum at any time, very quickly, and so that makes it very compatible that way. And what we find is that as we do that, it really forces us to examine and stay relevant on what's going on around the world too. So it's really a bonus, whereas before, sometimes you get stuck in the curriculum. Here, we're constantly evolving and changing it, always. We revamp our curriculum every year because we find things that we really like. We find things that maybe didn't work as well as we thought. And so as we go through, we're constantly changing those measurement topics. We're constantly changing those learning targets. And I think each year it gets better. We get a little more confident in what we're doing. We're year 3 now. I've been with it for 3 years now. When I first started, I was the only social science teacher. Now we're evolved to 5 of us. And that first year was tough because I had no ideas to bounce off the other teachers. I just kind of went by the seat of my pants, and it worked out well. But again, next year we revamp. And part of that revamping is to bring in those current events. But it's really easy to do with this system because you can go into our curriculum, add it in as part of the final affirmation, and boom, there you go. You're now being very relevant with what's going on in the world.
How do you, in social science, I think traditionally a lot of assessments based on regurgitation of facts, percentages. How do you measure mastery that maybe is different than that?
Well, when our final affirmations, we do a lot of we'll do compare, contrast, your thoughts on things, create. We stay away from, I've never been a big date, stats type guy. To me, that's not really showing mastery. I want to show depth of knowledge. So more comprehension type questions to me is what's important. So I like to analyze these things based on what you know. Those type of questions, cause and effect is always good. So any kind of problem solving, most of our final affirmations are dealt with something like that then they put into some type of presentation that they'll present to us. We really stay away from the dates and the stats and things like that. Now that could be part of the presentation, but that's not what they're going to be judged on as far as depth of knowledge. Do they really understand? We really want to look at the synthesis of what they really know. Not so much, hey, you can tell me when this and this happened. That's definitely not relevant anymore. We want to know why it got there, how did it get there, and what do you think of it? How does that change things going forward? So we're always looking for that kind of depth of knowledge, not so much facts and figures.
So you still have an ABCD grading system yet, or
we do.
Is that evolving?
We do still have that, but the way we do it is we're basically 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of the same thing, and those grades then equivalent to the ABCD. So, for example, if a student gets a 3, let's say on a final affirmation, that would be an A. If they get a 3 point whatever, that could be a B. 2 would be like a B, C type thing. So we actually have a grading scale that is 1, 2, 3, 4 that equates to the A, B, C, D range that most people are familiar with. So we just have to, and we have a chart that we go off of that just equates those grades back over. So it's actually a really easy conversion. And for 4s, those are kind of above and beyond. So if a kid really wants to, and that would be something that would be a student-driven activity, that they would take information from maybe a couple measurement topics, maybe from a couple different classes, create a student-driven project that's above and beyond. So that would be students that really want to exceed, and so that would be like a bump even further for them. So it'd be like, it'd be like a 0.2 added onto their GPA, things like that. So it really allows them to take that. If they really want to exceed, they have that opportunity to do as well.
Do you run into problems sometimes in a traditional setting? Grades were used as an incentive. You need to get that 100th of a percentage point to get us ahead and so on. In a customized environment, many times your emphasis is more on we want you to really learn it, not necessarily go for the grade. Do you see a little give and take sometimes on grade point versus really wanting to learn something, or is that not
I,
watching?
unfortunately, that's still the driving factor. Your kids that want an A are still going to strive for that. But by doing that, they're essentially getting themselves that higher learning level, anyways. For them to get a 3, which is an A, they have to demonstrate mastery. So in a way, it kind of takes care of itself. If they're really driven, they have to show the mastery of the topic, anyways. So with that comes the 3. So then now you add both those elements together. They've gotten their grade, plus they've really shown mastery of the learning. Some students, as they move through, are okay if they get a 2, and that's okay. They still have shown mastery, maybe not the depth of knowledge as a 3, but they've shown that they know the material. Studies are, we're still in the early phase, and we really need to see, as we continue to gather data to see, is this truly the same type of learning that maybe traditional learning has brought. And I believe it has. I believe that we're asking more of students and asking them to go to deeper knowledge.
So let's go with students who aren't motivated necessarily by grades.
Right.
How does a customized environment help them?
Well, it just allows them, in a regular setting, it's some kids, have difficulty maybe keeping up with the curriculum, and so a lot of times they'll struggle. They'll get their D and get moved on, And so, what did they really learn? Kids now that maybe where that grade isn't as important, allows them to spend a little more time to really gather the knowledge. So they don't have to worry about maybe keeping pace with the class. The teacher's not setting the pace; they're setting their own pace. With that being said, there is an expectation of movement as well too, but allow that student to take a little extra time on maybe a couple learning targets, a measurement topic that maybe they're struggling in, that they need extra help in, and they can do that and still move along at their pace. Whereas before, boom, here it is, they take a test, whatever, and they're moving on. Did they really learn anything? Did they really, maybe they got a 60%, they failed it, but we still move on to the next topic. They haven't showed depth of knowledge, where here we're asking you to go a little bit deeper. Show me that you know the material before we move you on. And so I think that's the big difference between the two.
When I hear teachers with their misperceptions about customized learning, I think one of them that I hear is, well, if a student takes extra time on this, then they're always behind.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find, though, that often students can catch up in other areas? Is that really a problem?
There's always going to be a small minority of students that are going to be behind, but that would be the case in any course, any class, I believe. What I find is that students that maybe need a little extra time on a, let's say, learning target measurement topic, usually are able to catch up fairly quickly because they have the ability to. Everything's laid out for them. There's going to be a few, and just like I said, with any system, no system's going to have all the answers. There's going to be some students that are going to be behind, but just because you're a little behind doesn't mean you're not learning. And that's the great thing. They're still learning. They're still moving through their topics, and they have, until they need to finish. So it takes them an extra couple weeks. Wouldn't you rather be, assured that they actually know the material than just moving them through? They get a grade and then just move on? Or do you want to make sure they move through, actually have the depth of knowledge, have learned what they need to learn, and then they move on? So I think that's where the two different ideas come into play.
Do you ever have direct instruction?
I do a little bit.
Okay.
I in my AP class, I divided up a couple different ways. And my Tuesday is my lecture day still. And we'll just lecture over large various of topics that I think beyond kind of the core curriculum that I think is important, because I'm trying to get them to the ending point of doing well on AP tests. So a lot of my lectures bringing in stuff that maybe they can't get from my learning targets or my measurement topics. So there's things that I'll kind of bring in to kind of build upon what they're already doing. So I still do a little bit of direct instruction, and I think that's good. I think kids sometimes still crave that from time to time. So I just do it one day a week. And then I also have a lab day in there too, where they're actually doing a lot of collaborative learning too. So I add a little bit of that in there. Yeah.
How do you deal with web levels? You mentioned earlier about some of the web levels, trying to get kids deeper and so on. Do you have that structured within the assignments, or is it more that some students can just choose something that's a deeper level of knowledge?
That's a great question, because what we have right now is, as we get kids into the program, we have it built in their assignments right away. So they're already built in for our social science 1, 2, and 3. Our discussions, and this is something we're going to look at this summer, is now we have students that now will be in it for 4 years. we're going to create a bank of deeper level web knowledge and that they can choose to apply to their final affirmation. So now they're created and now it's student driven instead of teacher driven, which essentially is what we always want to get to. But part of that is getting students used to the expectations of what that deeper level is, because they've never really been challenged to that level before. So it takes a while for them. Now they've been in it for a few years, they know the expectation, and so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to create a bank of different things they can choose from to apply to each of their final affirmations. So now it's student-driven instead of teacher-driven, which eventually we'd like to get through all the way through, but that, again, that's something that's got to evolve over time.
Sure.
And if we can get it to the point where we get this down to the middle school level, and now they've had it a few years, and then they get to the high school level, then we can get it to where it's student-driven right away. But right now, we're getting them right from the middle school. This is new, so we got to get them used to expectations, because expectations all brand new here. But if we can get to that point, that would be awesome.
You mentioned discussions, and social science is rich for discussions. When you have a customized environment where students are in all different places, how do you manage discussions with students?
Right, that's a challenge, and that's something we're constantly trying to evolve into. That's why I instituted my lab day, to enrich those conversations. The other thing we're going to do that will be new for next year is we have a new scheduler that's going to allow to group kids that are at the same areas, same levels, so we can have those rich discussions. That's something that we've always trying to evolve to get to. It is hard because you do have kids at every single level, and you don't want to lose that. And so that's something we've constantly been striving to improve on. I think each core subject area has found different ways to try to make that a better situation for kids. I know in the social science department what we did was create those lab days for kids to collaborate, work together on different activities. I think next year with our new schedule that we have coming in, it's going to allow us to really group kids. And it may have to dictate a little bit more on their choice as far as being able to move around the curriculum a little bit. But on the side end of that, it's going to create more collaborative opportunities for kids too, which I think they enjoy.
From your standpoint, the collaboration, is it more teacher-directed, here's something you're going to work with other kids, or is it more the kids just figure out who to collaborate with?
I allow them to do it themselves. I say, okay, I post the assignment, I post the lab, I run through a couple quick directions, and I go, the rest is yours. Move yourself, find your group that you want to work with, move yourself around the room. If you have questions, let me know, and I let them go. So a little bit of both, I think. So I think as we get into next year and we get into this new scheduler, I think you'll see more of, it'll be more like student-driven than teacher-driven.
Some students seem to really grasp customized learning and move with it. Are there students that it just doesn't work that well for them?
Yeah, I mean, I always relate it back to this because we always, we struggle with that as we have kids come in. We know that the system, even though we believe the system is good for all students, some students are just, like you said, have a hard time grasping it. And a lot of it isn't because of knowledge ability or anything like that, or academic ability. A lot of times it's just, as young students come in, they just don't have the coping skills, the organizational skills to deal with it, because a lot of getting through what you need to do in customized learning is simply being well organized, managing time. I have found kids that are extremely intelligent, but they just have a hard time with time management. They get too distracted, and with this system, you really do have to have time management skills. Organizational skills. And I've had students that maybe weren't as high academically have excelled in this because they are organized. They do have good time management skills, and so they're able to cope quite well. So it just depends on the individual student. So obviously, like any system, no matter what you use, you're going to have students that are going to struggle in that system. And the customized learning is no different. Just like in the traditional side of things, you have kids that are going to struggle in a traditional classroom. So I don't know if that's it's not a for sure fire way to help every single student, but I think the vast majority of students that have those skills excel very well in the program.
You hear a lot of, in a customized environment, teachers need to move away from the direct lecture to more of the mentor role, the facilitator role, but for a lot of people that doesn't mean much. I mean, if you were to describe the evolving of the teacher role from your standpoint, what are the specifics about what it takes to be a facilitator or a mentor?
To be a facilitator or mentor, you really need to just step away and really allow the kids to go.
Step away from what?
Be in control of the class. and you have to just kind of step away. And that was hard for me. I mean, that's kind of, I taught for 19 years that way. All of a sudden I need to step away. And sometimes I revert back to that from time. I need to step away. And what I need to do is to sit down and have those small conversations with kids on a daily basis. So my facilitator role, that role would be more in terms of, okay, I come into the classroom, I'll basically make my way around the room. I'll have a small conversation with kids. Hey, what do you work on? Do you need help with anything? Do you understand this, what I'm looking for here? And I just move around to each kid, and that's what I do. Once that's done, and what I'll do is I'll go to the front of the room, and then I'll have kids come up, and they'll present the final affirmations to me. So a lot of my time is spent talking with kids, having that deep, rich knowledge conversation about what they found, what they researched, and how they present it to me. So that's more the role. It's not me standing up there, hey, know this, writing notes, whatever it is. It's really student-driven, and me listening to them on what they've learned, what they've researched based on the curriculum that I've developed, and then coming back to me and showing me that they've basically adapted to and learned the material that I put out there. Sure. So it's really a different role. I mean, we are redefining what a teacher is. I mean, if people think teachers just stand up there talking, that's not teaching, that's telling. It's a completely different philosophy. Teaching is allowing kids to go out there and explore for themselves and then tell me what you learned, show me what you learned. Now let's have a conversation about it. Did you think about this? Did you think about that? How'd you come to that conclusion? That's learning. That's learning, not standing up there and saying, hey, know this, know that.
When you think of all the questions I had, I mean, are there aspects of customized learning that I didn't touch on that you want to tell teachers about, or something that you think is important for people to know if they're going to go down this path?
It's not easy. It's not an easy road, but it's a rewarding road. You're going to be challenged. You're going to be frustrated from time to time. Understand that when you develop and you create curriculum, that it's not always about what you haven't done in the past. A lot of the stuff that you've used is going to work. You just have to tweak it to the system. I've had a lot of people come through, and the biggest thing is, how do we build a curriculum? How do we build a curriculum? Don't reinvent the wheel. A lot of what you have is good. Just tweak it to make it work for you. And then have reasonable expectations for kids. When we first got into this, I think one of the things that we struggled with was, okay, what's the proper expectation? And I think each department struggled with what they were looking for. I think everybody had these pie in the sky, expectations. When actuality, put yourself in the role of a student for a little bit and ask yourself, what is really capable of them? What can they really do? And if you do that and you develop your curriculum that way, I think you'll find that students will have more success. And I think in the social science realm of things, I think we've done a good job with that. For each learning target, we have 3 basic steps. We have our foundational skills and then our final affirmation. It's very clear cut what they are, and so they can move through those and they know what the expectations are. So just temper your expectations to the point where it's realistic for students. Don't create a learning target with 15 different steps in it or something like that, because they're going to get lost in translation. And these are things that we learned along the way. So we had to work through some of those things at the point where I think if you ask most of the teachers in the Mod CL program, they would agree that most of them have their curriculum set to what they would like now. Now we tweak it every year, but I think that would be one thing that I would expect. Yeah.
Look at how you really give just good description of how the social studies evolved over time. I think a lot of times teachers see barriers that just seem insurmountable, but yet it sounds like you've reached some of those barriers, but you've found a way around it. Can you give us some examples of where you hit some barriers to move to that next level, but you eventually found a way to get past it?
Yeah, when we developed the social science curriculum, I think that the biggest barrier we had was, okay, how do we, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, how do we keep kids interested and wanting to be in the social science curriculum? And this is what we came up with. And so the biggest barrier was, okay, do we allow individual freedom within each social science area, or do we dictate a little bit? And so we kind of compromised. And what we would do is, we would take one of the subject areas and we would kind of have everybody pace at the same time to get them used to it, and then we'd let them go. And then the next year we'd shorten that up, and then by the year 3 we'd just, yeah, you got it, you go. So, that's one of the barriers that we found a little bit with ours. The other barrier we're now thinking about doing now is, okay, adding another level of knowledge, and that's, a lot of people, think that as we move through this program, do we lose some of our testing ability? Because a lot of it's presentation, things like that. So one of the other things we're going to look at is having end of course, or end of subject, I should say, exams, to add another level of knowledge to that. It would be a shorter type thing, but just another affirmation of, hey, you really know depth of knowledge here. And that's something, again, we're looking at. So as far as the barriers go, I think one of the barriers is just constantly looking at what you're doing, finding ways to tweak and work around it. I mean, because every year you're going to find different things that are working and not working. And so it's kind of hard to answer, because sometimes you got to put yourself in the line of fire first, find out what that barrier is, and then, you usually find ways around it.